Welcome to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. I'm Dr. Daniel Amen.
And I'm Tana Amen. Here we teach you how to win the fight for your brain to defeat anxiety, depression, memory loss, ADHD, and addictions.
The Brain Warriors Way podcast is brought to you by Amen Clinics, where we've transformed lives for 3 decades using brain SPECT imaging to better target treatment and natural ways to heal the brain. For more information, visit amenclinics.com.
The Brain Warriors Way podcast is also brought to you by BrainMD, where we produce the highest quality nutraceutical products to support the health of your brain and body. For more information, visit brainmdhealth.com. Welcome to the Brain Warriors Way podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to talk about something I talk about with virtually all of my patients, and that is, do you have food sensitivities that are causing issues with anxiety, depression, attentional problems, hyperactivity, behavior problems?
It's amazing food can do that.
Food is medicine.
Or it's poison.
Or it's poison. And it can devastate your intestinal tract, it can devastate your skin, and it can devastate your mind.
So one of the things we need to clarify before we get too far, because I get this question all the time on Facebook.
How often?
So all the time. It's one of the, it's a common question is, what if I'm sensitive to this food? Or more commonly, I did the food sensitivity test and I'm allergic to 26 or 34 foods. Okay. So I can't eat half of what's in the recipes that I'm supposed to, that are that I'm given for what I'm supposed to be eating. I can't eat those foods. So what can I replace them with?
I used the food sensitivity testing, for a number of years. And getting rid of the foods that people said they were, it just didn't seem to make a big difference.
Well, and there's a couple reasons. First of all, if you're allergic, that's the other thing we have to do. We have to clarify food allergies from food sensitivities. There's a big difference between food allergies and food sensitivities. And the second thing is, if you are sensitive, you get a list that shows up with 30 foods or 20 something plus foods, and you eliminate all of those foods when in fact you don't necessarily need to be, and those tests haven't been shown to be valid or fully accurate yet. What you could be doing is creating nutritional deficiencies where there might not have been one, and what you really need is a gut healing program. So not necessarily to eliminate all of those foods. So you need to do a food journal. You need to get a real assessment done. And
all right, so let's make this really simple.
First, understand food allergies. Let's start there. So
if you get hives, if you can't breathe, so people have shellfish allergies.
And that's an IgE test.
Then it's critical to stay away from those foods.
And that's called an IgE test, or immunoglobulin E. That is, you can get a skin prick test or a blood test. That's serious. It means you need to stay away from them. So you get rashes, you get hives, your throat swells, stay away from those foods. That's not kidding. But if you get some sort of vague symptoms you're not sure about, and you go to someone that does a food sensitivity test on you, they're pretty expensive. They're not covered by insurance. It's called an IgG test. They are used for autoimmune disorders a lot of times. What that's going to indicate is, are those proteins from those foods, are there proteins from certain foods, undigested proteins, crossing your intestinal lining? Are they in your bloodstream somehow? Okay. And that's where this idea of I'm sensitive to foods, what it really is showing, where it is useful is, there's intestinal permeability or leaky gut. Problem is, when those companies have been tested, when say samples from the same person, we send 2 samples from the same person to 2 different labs, or we send the same sample, we divide the same sample and we send it to the same lab, label it with different names. They get 2 different results. Or sometimes someone has a serious food allergy and it doesn't even show up.
So the retest reliability is not there.
And it's expensive.
So we are generally not a fan of food sensitivity tests.
And neither are most of our friends.
We're a huge fan of the issue of food sensitivities.
Right.
And we believe that there are certain foods that you should eliminate at least on a trial basis.
And journal.
And neither one of us are a fan. We're not a fan of gluten. We're not a fan of dairy. We're not a fan of corn. And we're not a fan of sugar or soy. We're just not a fan because we don't see enough nutritional benefit for the potential risks.
And we write a lot about that in our book, The Brain Warrior's Way. We're not alone on this concept. So most of our friends in the functional medicine field, even Dr. Weil is not a fan of these tests, Dr. Houston, Dr. Philaday, they would really prefer that you do what we do. Dr. Philaday works for us at our clinics. Get a thorough assessment. Do your food journal if you really think you suspect something's not working for you, and then challenge it. So in other words, eliminate it. We explain how to do a food elimination diet or challenge, if you will, very thoroughly and in detail in the Brain Warrior's Way, or you can call the clinic and get an assessment.
Well, and I'll just tell you, it's really simple.
Right.
It's eliminate from your diet for about a month gluten, so wheat, and the other things that have gluten, barley,
dairy.
So,
you're talking about the gluten.
Yeah.
So,
what else?
So yeah, so we actually would recommend you eliminate most grains, and if you don't want to eliminate them all, then the ones that are non-gluten, sort of like oatmeal. If you don't want to do everything all at once, then don't worry about oatmeal to start.
Eat quinoa, even though it's not a grain, it's a seed, but
right.
People use it like a grain. Or rice. There's not very many allergies to rice. But if you can eliminate gluten and things that contain gluten, even cosmetics will have gluten in it. So it's important to read labels. So gluten, dairy, soy, corn, sugar, along with that, artificial dyes and sweeteners. This is not hard. It's a mindset thing, and in the Brain Warrior's Way cookbook, virtually all of Tana's cookbooks,
130 recipes,
are not made with any of those ingredients. So people go, oh well, there's nothing to eat, and I'm like, no, there's 10,000 things to eat. No one's ever taught you
right?
How
like coconut
how
wraps
to do that. And if you do that for a month, and you don't notice any change in your symptoms, and you're serious about it, you're sort of, not cheating about it, then, maybe that's not the cause of the issues you're struggling with. Maybe it's something else. But I have to tell you, 50% of the patients we see who go on an elimination diet have a significant reduction in their symptoms. In one study from Holland, with 300 kids who had ADD, 72% of them lost their ADD symptoms.
Just with diet.
Just with diet alone. So this is a very important topic. And people go, well, what do you eat? And so I made you eggs this morning.
Right.
And then I had a cup of frozen blueberries. I think of them almost like God's candy.
Right. I had a big salad with salmon on it. So we've got 130 recipes in the Brain Warrior's Way, 125 recipes in the Omni Diet that follow exactly. So this isn't even
amazing.
And let me just clarify one thing. So we have people do this as a quote unquote elimination or challenge initially. Most people end up feeling so much better they never go back.
Right. So talk about Angie, because this
Hold on, I will.
really helpful.
Let me finish. But the truth is, this is how we live. Now, once in a while, we may engage, we may have a little bite of bread or something like that, but that's not where we live normally. Okay, so we eat that way all the time, and that's why there's so many recipes for you to find and use that I've created for you to be able to do this. So Angie lost 103 pounds over 14 months. She lost 11 pounds in the first 2 weeks. She was amazing. But it wasn't just the weight.
And that's often what happens with people have food sensitivities that are causing inflammation and water retention.
Right. And
so the first 2 weeks are often like amazing.
Right. So if you are inflamed, think about inflammation causes problems with just about every organ in your body. So it's inflammation. It's like a flame. It's like this chronic problem you've got going on in your body. Swollen joints. She had female problems. She had skin problems, but it was anxiety and depression that were ruling her life. So after doing this program, 103 pounds later, 14 months, and now it's been several years and she hasn't gained it back. She can't imagine ever going back.
But she's a warrior.
She's a warrior. She can't imagine going backwards. So if she even starts to gain a few pounds, she gets really uncomfortable because, in her mind, it means, I have to be serious. So she'll write to me and she's like, okay, I gained.
But I'm the same way.
Right.
If I gain a few pounds, I'm not happy about that.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
With 2/3 of Americans overweight.
Well, and she's been miserable.
40% obese. And as your weight goes up, the size and function of your brain goes down. It's the biggest brain drain in the history of the United States. It's okay to be anxious.
Well, and so Angie, it wasn't even the weight that was the best part for her, although it was. I mean, obviously, because along with that, she had been ridiculed most of her life. So now she got her confidence back. Socially, she was so much happier. But the skin cleared up. Her female problems cleared up. Her joint pain was gone. So that inflammation goes away. Your gut heals. So her gut healed. Now her, your gut bacteria gets better. So, and you're the one who talks all the time about the importance of gut bacteria for brain health. Her anxiety and depression were gone. So she said once in a while she'll notice it creeps in, but it no longer rules her life and she knows how to get rid of it. She can get it under control. And that's really exciting.
So food is helping you or it's hurting you. If you haven't read The Brain Warrior's Way, we just encourage you to do it. I mean, we worked really hard to make it easy to read, full of great, actionable ideas. And then the Brain Warrior's Way cookbooks, the perfect companion to it. And the thing I love about it is the recipes taste awesome and they're good for you. You can do this. None of this is hard. And it just takes the right mindset. You're a warrior. You're armed, prepared, and aware to win the fight of your life. Stay with us. Thank you for listening to the Brain Warrior's Way podcast. Go to iTunes and leave a review, and you'll automatically be entered into a drawing to get a free signed copy of the Brain Warrior's Way and the Brain Warrior's Way cookbook we give away every month.